Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, November 28th. A lot to talk about this morning. We'll first take a quick look ahead at some of the factors that we talked about last week that suggest a colder weather pattern, a colder than normal weather pattern is likely to set up for much of the nation as we go through the month of December. We'll take a look at a couple of teleconnection indices and a blocking pattern that looks like it'll form over places like Greenland in the early and middle part of the month of December. We also want to then focus in on a strong cold frontal passage that will be sweeping to the east over the next few days. It looks like it'll actually set off some severe thunderstorm activity later tomorrow into tomorrow night across the Tennessee Valley region down to some of the the deep southern states. And then that same frontal system will come through the Mid-Atlantic region late Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening time frame, and it looks like there could be very strong winds ahead of it and behind it. Ahead of it, out of the southwest in the Mid-Atlantic region on a Wednesday into Wednesday evening, perhaps gusting up to 50 miles per hour or so, and then behind the frontal passage late Wednesday night, especially during the day on Thursday, northwesterly winds in the Mid-Atlantic region could gust up to 40 or 50 miles per hour or so. Let's look ahead first here and take a look at a couple of teleconnection indices. The North Atlantic Oscillation, when it slips into negative territory this time of the year and hangs around for a while in that negative territory, it generally is correlated well with a blocking pattern. Higher heights than normal, higher pressure than normal, places like Greenland, Iceland, northeastern part of Canada. That allows for a higher probability of cold air masses to make their way from northern Canada into the central and eventually into the eastern part of the U.S. Well, here's the forecast for the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, going forward into about the middle part of December. It shoots up into a little bit of a positive territory over the next couple of days and then drops sharply into negative territory. All these red lines here represent forecasts for the next couple of weeks for the NAO, and again it looks like it not only slips into negative territory but sharply down into pretty deep negative territory for this time of the year, the early to middle part of December. And again, that is often associated with a blocking pattern that sets up over Greenland with higher heights, higher pressures than normal. That in turn allows for colder air masses usually to be shunted from the high latitudes into the middle latitudes, at least into the central part of the U.S. and likely eventually into the eastern part of the nation as well during December. Well, a closely related cousin to the North Atlantic Oscillation is the Arctic Oscillation. Both of these give us some idea as to the temperature, precipitation, wind patterns over the North Atlantic, over the Arctic region, and they tend to be correlated pretty well. When one drops into negative territory, the other does as well. And again, the Arctic Oscillation right now, just now sliding into negative territory, but the forecast here shown in red keeps it down in negative territory right through, it looks like, the first half of the month of December. So the same teleconnection indices that we talked about last week, signaling a colder pattern for much of the nation, continue to suggest the same thing here as we close out the month of November. Again, the NAO and the AO look like they'll slip into negative territory and hang around in negative territory for a sustained period of time. Well, let's take a look at the ensemble run from the Canadian model last night. This is the 0Z ensemble run of the Canadian model. Again, we'll look ahead here, and then we'll focus on the near term on that potent cold frontal system that will be working its way across the eastern half of the nation over the next few days. We're looking at 5-day intervals here. The average 500 millibar height anomaly for a given 5-day period. This is the current 5-day period we're in right now. Notice Greenland, right in this region, not a heck of a lot going on, a little bit orange, a little bit higher heights than normal. Very strong ridge on the western side of Alaska as we begin this look at the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast pattern. Now let's move forward here, again in 5-day increments here, and again we talked about that NAO index dropping sharply into negative territory. Watch what happens over Greenland as we move forward here. Here you go, higher and higher heights compared to normal. The deeper and deeper orange, and by the time we get to this time frame here, this is days 6 to 10. We're talking pretty much next week from December 3rd to December 8th, and here is what that NAO and AO are suggesting will happen, and indeed the forecast models are picking up on a very, very strong ridging pattern, blocking pattern setting up over Greenland, Iceland shown right here. Again, this is late this weekend going into the early part of next week. Now, let's move a little bit farther ahead. Notice here orange is all the way down in the southeastern part of the nation. This is not too atypical of a La Nina type of winter where you have a lot of cold air for sure over the central part of the nation, maybe the southwestern part of Canada. You also have a ridge often in a La Nina type of winter down across the southeastern part of the nation. Now, whether or not the cold air makes it all the way into the Mid-Atlantic region is really a battle sometimes between that southeastern ridge and the upper level trough sitting over central Canada, the northern part of the U.S. So that's what we'll watch for. It looks like colder than the normal air will indeed move into the eastern states. May take a little bit of a while here, though. Probably after December 7th or 8th or so, the pattern really changes to allow for that cold air to move from the central U.S. into the eastern U.S. Let's go out a little bit farther in time and just look at that blocking pattern that indeed does set up here over Greenland. This is now all the way out days 9 to 13, December 6th to December 11th. Very cold air at this particular time over the southern part of Canada, the north central part of the U.S., and some of that will start to filter into the Mid-Atlantic region probably after the December 7th or 8th. So we do have cold shots before that, but they're quick. We have a very strong cold front coming into the eastern states through the Mid-Atlantic region late Wednesday, and it will be downright cold on Thursday and Friday, but then it gets quickly milder again over the upcoming weekend. What I'm talking about here, what I'm looking at is more of a sustained colder than normal air pattern for the eastern states. It looks like that may hold off until maybe December 7th or December 8th or so. Well, let's now focus in on the near term. Again, we have a very strong frontal system to deal with from later tomorrow down across the Tennessee Valley region, and then on Wednesday into Thursday in the Mid-Atlantic region of the northeast U.S. Again, I think we could have 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts on Wednesday out of the southwest ahead of that frontal system in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and then perhaps 40 to 50 miles per hour on the backside of the front, those same areas along the I-95 corridor region on Thursday from a northwesterly direction. And here is a forecast of severe weather probability by NOAA's Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow into tomorrow night. Quite unusual for this time of the year. We're almost into the month of December. The very end of November could present an opportunity for more tornadoes down across the Mississippi Valley, the Tennessee Valley. This is certainly an area to watch as that potent cold front moves its way through that region on Tuesday, and then right here into the Mid-Atlantic, the coastal regions of the eastern seaboard late Wednesday night. Well, I wanted to first take a look here at NAM forecast model from last night, the 6Z run of the 12-kilometer version of the NAM at 850 millibar winds, because again, it could be very, very windy on Wednesday into Thursday in the Mid-Atlantic region, and tomorrow the Mississippi Valley, the Tennessee Valley, not only damaging wind gusts, but the possibility of some isolated tornadoes. So let's move forward here. Again, we're looking at 850 millibar winds here. Here we are into the later part of Monday. Not much going on in the eastern half of the nation at this time. We're moving ahead in hourly increments. But look at this. By the time we get to Tuesday morning, all of a sudden we see some very strong winds at the 850 millibar level. Again, watch out tomorrow into tomorrow night right here in the Mississippi Valley region, the Tennessee Valley region, for damaging wind gusts and even the possibility of some isolated tornadoes with this very strong cold frontal system that will be sliding to the east. Now we're moving along in 3-hour increments. into the day on Wednesday morning, right here, Wednesday morning, and this low-level jet, this 850 millibar jet, slides into the eastern part of the nation on Wednesday, again just ahead of that strong cold frontal system. Here we are in a Wednesday mid-morning. Look at that. By the time we get to the middle of the day on Wednesday, very, very strong winds here, right ahead of and along that strong cold frontal system. We're looking at purples here. This is all the way from 64 knots all the way up to in the 90s here. Just above the surface level, 850 millibars come midday on Wednesday, and that slides toward the eastern seaboard into New England by the time we get to Wednesday evening. Again, potential exists for even from damaging wind gusts, but certainly up to 50 miles per hour or so. Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. associated with that frontal system. Then on its backside Thursday morning, some very strong winds also, but from a different direction. They'll be from the northwest on Thursday. Noticeably colder conditions. We may get up to 60 degrees on Wednesday afternoon ahead of the front in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and then hold much, much closer to 40 degrees come Thursday afternoon, post-frontal system. Northwest winds on Thursday, southwest winds on Wednesday. Well, let's wrap up with the radar reflectivities from the NAM model run at 6Z last night. Maybe an isolated shower early this morning in the Mid-Atlantic region with another frontal system that will cause some gusty winds today, but nothing like what we'll see on Wednesday or Thursday. Let's move forward in time here. Not much going on in terms of precipitation later today into tonight throughout the eastern half of the nation. But then we get into the day on Thursday, and we see the strong low pressure area right here in the middle of the nation. And we'll see here, this is Tuesday morning forecast map. Very chilly air with accumulating snow, parts of the northern plains here, the central plains. And then we start to see this outbreak of showers and thunderstorms right here by the time we get to Tuesday evening. And at this particular time, that strong cold front is lying in this position right here, cutting across Texas, approaching the Mississippi Valley. And this is the area of concern for a couple of reasons. One, we saw the 850 millibar forecast maps, very, very strong winds. A low-level jet here could cause some damaging wind gusts, and could become unstable enough for some isolated tornadoes in this part of the nation. Tennessee Valley, the lower part of the Mississippi Valley. Now we'll move forward here in time here. Again, this is the Tuesday evening forecast map. And by the way, these black lines here represent isobars, equal lines of pressure. The tighter these lines, the stronger the winds. Let's now move into the day on Wednesday. And here we go, Wednesday morning. Showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder or two moving into the Mid-Atlantic region at this particular time. The surface front is right here over the Ohio Valley. Again, strong southwesterly winds will develop ahead of the front in the Mid-Atlantic region on Wednesday evening, perhaps gusting up to 50 miles per hour or so. Here we go, that frontal system at this particular time now, late Wednesday afternoon, right over the Appalachian Mountains. So let me try to redraw that here. Right over the Appalachian Mountains, right in this region right here, by the time we get to late afternoon on Wednesday. And again, very strong south to southwest winds ahead of that front, gusting up to 50 miles per hour or so. Excuse me. Then we move forward. Front pushes through. By the time we get to Thursday morning, right here, we have the Thursday morning forecast map. We have departing low pressure here over the Atlantic Ocean and incoming high. The difference in pressure between these two systems, sharp pressure gradient right here, tight isobar pattern, and northwest winds on the backside of that front on Thursday with much colder conditions as compared to Wednesday. Again, we're talking 60-degree highs on Wednesday afternoon, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, 40 to 45-degree highs on Thursday afternoon. Very strong southwest winds on Wednesday, very strong northwest winds on Thursday following the frontal passage. Watch out tomorrow into tomorrow night. Tennessee Valley, Mississippi Valley for the possibility of damaging wind gusts and even isolated tornadoes. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.